Poke the Bear is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
And welcome into Poke the Bear, episode 263, presented by Prize Picks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $50 back when you play, just $5. And we're presented by Game Time. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms, they do apply. I am Evan Marinofsky. That is Conor Ryan. Connor, what's up?
Evan, doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. We are into the preseason. Preseason games are happening all the time now. Utah opened with 2 preseason games. They got to see their home rink. So good to see. Hockey should be better in Utah than it is in Arizona. I would hope. That's a low bar. That's a low bar.
No, yeah. Well, at least they have an owner who's committed to actually putting together a winning product and, paying hotels, unlike that scumbag in Arizona. So an unserious shitbag. So
yes, and it's funny, you see these owners like Arizona and like Oakland with the Athletics. I mean, it's like, man, you get a bad owner, and there are some like not great owners around the league, and people obviously harp on like John Henry with the Red Sox, but to have one who's like incompetent and cheap, like the guy in Oakland, like the guy in Arizona, like that'll completely sink a franchise. So
got it out.
Good to see that the majority of sports do not have those kinds of owners. Bruins played another preseason game on Tuesday night. They hosted the Washington Capitals. Got a 4-2 win. Got to see some different players. Matt Poitras was in the lineup. Brandon Carlo, Elias Lindholm. They win 4-2. The big story, though, to me at least, was Fabian Lysell. We harped on Fabian Lysell earlier this week on Bruins Beat, rightfully so. I mean, it was one preseason game, and we, by the way, prefaced all our bad things about Lysell with like, hey, it's one game, can easily turn it around, but habits are habits. Tuesday night, I always have this like it's a golf tee that I just play with while I record. So that's what you heard, just smack against the mic.
Sorry, if you hear any noise, like I think last time we had one, it's my little like coin I keep on in my hand. So if that
my lucky coin.
Yes, exactly.
No, I always like whatever's
my gold doubloon. So
whatever's on my desk in front of me, like I have this little thing of chapstick that I'll just kind of like sit over here and play with. And
this got my little Boston Terrier.
Yes, the stress ball. Yeah, yes, so. when you start getting into like the trade Tuca days, you were ripping that thing apart.
Yeah. He has no ears. The ears have been taken off since the Swayman discussions, the 500 Swayman discussions we've had all throughout the summer. So
right across. But Fabian Lysell, much better game, scored a goal. I thought way more noticeable in every facet of the game, was driving play more than definitely more than he was on Sunday. What did you think of Fabian Lysell?
Yeah, it's what you need to see from a player that you hope can make a push for a top 6 role, right? Like this is a guy who scores the goal and great finish, great shot there. You can see where the skill set is. The skating's always been there, but just seem more engaged with the puck on his stick as well. Not a lot of one and dones, not a lot of flybys. This is a guy that at his frame, he's not going to be a guy that is going to be a heat-seeking missile on the forecheck or anything like that, but he can use that speed to his advantage beyond trying to dangle through 3 guys or try to gain the offensive blue line, stuff like that. And again, like, is he going to be the most well-rounded player? We'll have to see, but for right now, in terms of just being responsible, playing to his strengths, and simplifying his game, which is what he mentioned afterwards. He said he spoke to Ryan Mujanel, who's been his coach the last 2 years in Providence before Tuesday's game, and his message was just simplify, play your game. I think you saw that. And he, even Lysell mentioned that probably he was putting too much pressure on himself going into the first game. I think being able to maybe take a step back, breathe a little, and kind of let that natural talent take over really helped him out there. So as you said, a good first step. Brad Marchand speaking today on Wednesday, kind of more or less was like, yeah, he played pretty good, but if pretty good is your barometer or where you want to be at, like, you're not going to get anywhere close. Like, it's a step in the right direction after a slow start, but now it's how do you build off of that, right? Like, did Matt Poitras last year, did he have one good preseason game? No, he popped in his first one, and then all of a sudden every single game he got more and more comfortable, more settled in, more, poised and looking like an actual NHL player. You need to see that same progression from Lysell if he wants a shot at making this team and playing on October 8th.
And that's one of the things. And you and I are actually very kind of conservative in how we look at prospects, especially in camp, as like, all right, like take it game by game. You don't really know, it's one game. And I see people on Twitter with that goal being like, wow, what a shot, look at that skill. And it's like, that's great. And we know that that's there, and it's good that that's coming through in the preseason. But like, as you said, and as Brad Marchand said, like that's got to be consistent. And I'm not saying like you got to snipe
rip shot
top corner every game, but being involved in the offense, having the puck on your stick, being engaged, winning board battles, that matters. And that needs to be every game. That can't be, and especially like if you're going to be in a top 6 role, if you're going to be riding shotgun with Charlie Coyle and Brad Marchand for a Stanley Cup contending team, like you're not. That's you got to have that all the time. And I think Brad Marchand's right in saying that. And, again, like, so you got one bad one, you got one good one. Is he in the lineup officially for Thursday night?
Nothing announced yet. The only players who are expected to play on Thursday in New York, David Pastrnak, Nikita Zadorov, and Charlie McAvoy. So we're going to start incorporating a few more veterans. So again, it's also one of those things where Lysell has time, right? But as they start bringing in more and more players, it's not like he's going to be playing, 5 more preseason games. He maybe has 2 or 3, maybe 4 of these games left to really kind of show that, yes, it's a good step in the right direction on Tuesday night, but it's going to bring in more and more. Like it can't just be that. And it can't just be, all right, I got the goal. I'm feeling good. I can now focus in on my strengths. Like, no, if you're still not, trying to win, fish out pucks along the boards, trying to be the first guy in, using your speed to win foot races, doing the little things that, I look at a guy like Tyler Johnson. Like, was he the flashiest player on Tuesday? No, but he's a veteran, knows kind of the little details that help you win games. He's the guy that screened the goalie on Lysell's goal. He wins a puck along the boards, feeds it out, and that leads to Merkulov getting a good look, and it leads to a Brazeau goal right after that. Like, and again, Tyler Johnson, 5'8", not the most imposing guy, but knows how to play to his.
He is built though. Holy crap, is that dude built?
Yes, absolutely. And again, but he's a guy that knows the finer details, knows the little things maybe get overlooked, especially by younger players that you have to do night in and night out to help your team win. And so I think for Lysell, you'll take the goal, and it'll be great if he scores again. If he has a dangle fest and scores up close or something in New York or one of these other games, but if he's going to be one-dimensional, which is something that Brad Marchand said, you can't be at this stage of your career. He's not going to go very far. So it's all about stacking good performances on top of each other now moving forward for a guy like Lysell.
And I even look like at Tuesday night's game, like Matt Poitras, just like, I forget it. I don't think he was on the score sheet at all when Tuesday night, if memory serves.
I don't believe so.
But just his puck protection and winning battles and, protecting against bigger guys and holding on to pucks. He's a guy that does not just, throw puck down the wall to start the cycle. Like he's a guy that is going to use every inch of the offensive zone to get to space. And and we talked about this a couple weeks ago when Montgomery first I think it was last week when Montgomery first put him on the right wing. Like to me right now, Poitras might make the most sense for that second line right wing spot. And we can get into that later on, but like just his play to me and his ability to stand out while not maybe even producing, I think is a good thing for a prospect. That's kind of what he did last year, although he also produced quite a lot in the preseason. Another one who had a pretty good game on Tuesday night, Georgii Merkulov, playing down the middle again. What do you think of his game?
Yeah, I thought it was solid. Montgomery mentioned on Tuesday morning that he's actually really liked what Merkulov has shown during practices in terms of the attention to details, maybe kind of the finer things that maybe we don't pick up on as much, but the coaches certainly do in terms of guys and how ready they are for NHL reps. Montgomery also said that he liked it in practice. It's all about now translating that into a game. And I think you saw a little bit more of that commitment to the finer details. I thought he was pretty solid, I think, in the first game on Sunday in terms of wanting to, try to engage in board battles, doing some of those little things, even if that's maybe not, necessarily his skill set. But then I think for him, getting rewarded, taking the puck, driving to the net, feeding Justin Brazeau. And he's mentioned that, he's skated with Justin Brazeau the last 2 years down in Providence. So he kind of knows where Brazeau is going to be at the net front, of course, on a play like that. So good heads up play there. But I think, his willingness to kind of, round out his game and try to show that he's ready for this next step in terms of rounding out, what he's going to be. Is he going to be winning a Selke? I don't think so, right? But again, I think showing that willingness and wanting to impact the game beyond the evident, production that he's shown in the offensive zone the last couple of years is encouraging. Like, was it a breakthrough performance? Is it one that makes you reset your expectations as to where these guys all are on the depth chart at this stage of camp? Probably not. But again, another situation where a younger player is building his game up a little bit. And, hopefully this is how you set the foundation for how you approach the last, 10 plus days of camp moving forward.
I think you saw in that goal that Brazeau scored, we know Merkulov has the offensive skill. We know he is creative in the offensive zone. But as you said, if he can build that second half of his game, if he can be a little bit more well-rounded, it doesn't mean you need to be the guy that Montgomery taps on the shoulder for a defensive draw. It doesn't mean that, but just be responsible. There is a ceiling. There is a somewhat high ceiling there in what Merkulov could be. And again, like we've said it a number of times, coming off 2 years it's 2 full years in the AHL of offensive production. So you know that you have that. It just comes down to that well-roundedness, which I agree with you. I thought he was fine Sunday, and I thought he was even better Tuesday. So again, if that continues, I think he's going to be hard to leave off the roster. There's more we can get to from these games, but first, quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right, only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, your picks are still live. Big questions going into the football season. Will Patrick Mahomes throw for more or less than 267.5 yards one week? Will Jalen Hurts throw for 240.5 passing yards another? Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus because it's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Now, back to the show. So Joonas Korpisalo made his Bruins debut on Tuesday night. Had a crazy night, 7 shots. Whew, that's breaking a sweat, baby. But his credit, stopped all 7. And there were some good chances in there. His breakaway, he had some in tight chances. I haven't looked at natural stat trick, but I know a couple of them were high danger chances. And overall looked good. Like, again, I'm not a goalie expert. It's 1/2 of a game, of a preseason game. I don't think he's fixed, but I liked him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if you're looking at, what maybe the expectations are for Korpisalo,
it is time to trade Jeremy Swayman, Connor.
Yes,
it is.
I was
over.
waiting.
It
I
is
was waiting
over.
for this, Nevin. I was waiting for this. No, but I think when you look at the expectations for a guy like Korpisalo going into this year, obviously, you look at now the heightened importance of getting him up to speed with that uncertainty in net. If you do have the scenario where it is Korpisalo on October 8th in Florida, a step in the right direction. That's all it really needs to be right now at this stage of the preseason. I feel like goalies usually are the ones that have a lot of rust going into the preseason in terms of, it's only so much you face, live action like this in a real game setting. As you said, not the heaviest workload for him, but again, as a fellow non-goalie expert, I feel like we're like Bruce Cassidy. Bruce Cassidy, you always would ask him about the goalies. He'd be like, well, that's probably more for goalie Bob. And then he would like talk for like 2 minutes anyway. But yeah, I really wanted to save there. I'd be like, oh, okay. But no, from what we saw, right, seven saves. I believe on natural stat trick, 2 of them were high danger, but was square to pucks. Was good, sealing off the post. Like, didn't seem rattled, didn't have any bad rebounds or felt like he was off kilter or anything like that. Montgomery mentioned after the game that, he's a big goalie. So, having him be square to puck kind of takes away some of those tough angles, makes guys, shoot for the corner, shoot for the top corner, and it leads to it, sailing wide. So even if maybe it was 7 saves, it could have been a lot more in terms of the attempts they had around him. And again, that's all you're kind of looking for from a guy like Korpisalo. He's not this Tim Thomas-y kind of player where he's just diving all over the place and it's controlled chaos. When he's on, he's technically sound. He's square to pucks and is kind of just doing his thing. And I think that's kind of what you saw on Tuesday. Is he fixed? As you said, no, he's got a ways to go. But let me tell you, if you're a Bruins fan who's very nervous about the state of the goalie situation, as you probably should be, would you rather Korpisalo look pretty good with seven saves, or would you rather it be he lets up 2 of those 7 shots, right? Like, if you're looking for just finding the positives and building off of this, Tuesday's exactly, I think, what you wanted from a guy like Korpisalo, who all of a sudden could be looking at a greater role, at least once we get into October.
That he's going to have a couple more good preseason starts, and that trade Jeremy Swayman thing is just going to be.
Oh, I already have the tweets, Evan. Like, it's immediate. Come on. Like, we knew this was going to happen.
We did. And I don't know why I would be surprised at that. But again, I thought he was sound. Like, that's good. That's what you want. I mean, again,
Yes.
Like, I think we all expect he's going to be much better here than in Ottawa. It just comes down to how much better is he going to be. And again, he's shown in his career that he can be a really strong goalie. So again, like, when they do re-sign Jeremy Swayman, which, Pierre LeBrun reported yesterday, there's nothing crazy new, but that both sides are looking for a long-term deal. So there is that. They don't hate each other yet. But if your tandem for the majority of the year is Swayman and Korpisalo is playing like that and continuing to build and is, 9, 15, 9, 10, like, you take that every time. So it's funny. You mentioned coaches with goalies. I'll never forget it. UMass. If the goalie gave up, I think it was 3 goals, gone, pulled. It was like, no matter what, that goalie was gone. So it's always fun watching coaches try to handle goalies that were not goalies themselves. First, before we get into injury stuff, before we get into top 6 storylines, quick word from our friends over Game Time.
The summer is coming to an end, but rejoice, sports fans, because football season is back. And if you're a Patriots fan and want to make your way to Gillette Stadium, you got to go with Game Time tickets. There's nothing better than posting up with your buddies at a tailgate, working the grill, knocking back a few beers, and taking in that crisp fall air over at Foxborough. With the new Patriots season upon us, now is your time to see Drake May in action, and Game Time tickets will get you the best seats at the best prices to get you into the stadium. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace that makes getting NFL tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to kickoff. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets. There's no shortage of options when using the Game Time app. Game Time Tickets app makes it easy to sort through which specific game or other event you want to attend and shows you the best spots available to take in the action. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And with the Patriots home opener against the Seahawks just weeks away, Game Time Picks has you covered. Game Time Tickets also has you covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry, including event cancellation protection, 24-hour returns guarantee, job loss assurance, and on-time ticket delivery. So what are you waiting for? Take the guesswork out of buying football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Now, let's get back to the show.
So one kind of underrated storyline that I feel hasn't been talked about a lot this week. Now, it is Wednesday. You and I have only done, this is our second podcast. I think it came out, was it Tuesday? I think Montgomery spoke about Elias Lindholm on Tuesday. Yeah. But that Lindholm is day-to-day and is out of preseason games for the rest of the week. Don't remember. Did he say upper body or not? I feel like they didn't say really anything.
We don't know yet. Yeah, it's undisclosed right now.
So the fear is that this is a lingering thing. That's a fear. And it's not reported, by the way. It's just a fear. I think everybody, given the contract he got, is afraid of that. Max Jones also out for the week. What's the concern level? We'll focus on Lindholm mainly because, again, that's the big fish they got in free agency. How concerned are you about Elias Lindholm?
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal when it's a guy that is your top free agent addition that, his presence alone beyond what, the expectations I think we've all set, where I think we both agree that he can easily be a 60-point guy, great two-way player. But just what he brings being in the lineup where all of a sudden Charlie Coyle can be your 2C. You've got really, really good players pushed down to maybe third line roles like a Frederick or a Geekie or Patra or whoever it may be. Like, I think just getting him in the lineup is essential for this team. And again, when you have a guy like David Pastrnak on your line, maybe you don't have to worry all that much about building that chemistry and knowing where guys are going to be. I think that's the kind of player that if that's who Lindholm is skating with for the majority of his time here, he's going to be just fine. But obviously, it's kind of like the same thing with like Swayman, right? Why we've talked about why you hope this is done sooner rather than later, of just getting settled in, getting ramped up for especially a guy like Lindholm on a new team in a newish role, I guess, as like kind of the unquestioned first line center. I mean, hell, last year with Vancouver, he was like the 3C or like on the wing because you had Horvat and Pettersson, in front, or JT Miller rather. Yes. Horvat was not on that team, but
I was like, wait, where's Horvat?
Yeah.
Long Island, baby.
Yes. But yeah, Pettersson, JT Miller, two other very good guys in front of him on the depth chart. I think just getting Lindholm back is going to be key for this team. Montgomery mentioned on Wednesday that a couple of guys are off the ice, more just being extra cautious. He said it's not anything that they're worried about week to week. So a guy like him, Brezzo didn't skate on Wednesday. Same thing, basic maintenance. And from what Montgomery said, they expect these guys to be back next week skating. Definitely Lindholm, who's the guy that seems like maybe they're being the most precautious about, which makes sense in terms of where he kind of is and how important he is. But you do like to hopefully see him in at least one or two preseason games with Pastrnak, with Zacha before the regular season starts, because, I mean, you look at how many question marks or how many sure bets there are on this team in terms of like guaranteed offensive production. A lot of the heavy lifting is probably going to be that top line, especially out of the gate.
Yeah, you don't want to be missing him, and you don't want to be missing him for stretches of games during the year. So yeah, take the precautions now, but it is something to monitor. I think, if that, we probably won't know what that exact injury is or what was bothering him, but you hope that it's not something that is nagging him throughout the year. Before we hit on the last thing about potential top six guys and Morgan Geekie in particular, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, EA Sports posted like I think it was Quinn Hughes and Nasher against Jack Hughes and Luke Hughes in NHL 25, like playing against each other. Mm-hmm. And it's like a 1 minute and 30-second long video, and it shows the new game. It looks so freaking terrible. And it's depressing.
Mainly I jumped off. Yeah.
And like, again, I like, it's the same game every year. It is. I completely agree. This past year was the first year where I really did not play it at all. I mean, I played a little franchise mode, here and there just when I wanted to play a hockey game, but it wasn't because like the game was good. It looks so bad. And I, again, like, I don't know, for video games, like for sports, it's hard to make a new one every year that's good. That's why I wish they would just, update the rosters, do one every couple years. Don't do it every single year because you would never know what the difference is between 23, 24, 25. And it kills me because will I buy it? I don't know. Usually I'm always locked to buy it, but this year might be the year where I just stick to my UMass franchise and NCAA 25. I think we've won like 3 or 4 national championships at this point. Yeah, we're a blue blood place now. But it looks like crap.
It makes me feel old, Evan, because I think the last one I played like in earnest, like almost every day was in college. So that was like, makes me feel old. It was like NHL 12 and 13. So I think those are the ones with like
12 was awesome. Yes.
So I think those last ones I played quite a bit because I used to the older ones like NHL like 08, 09, where I think that was one with like Patrick Kane on the cover. Like every skater was so friggin' fast. It was like unbelievable. Like how, like I feel like those were the first ones where like they actually accounted for the fact that like, hey, maybe Pat Maroon isn't as fast as like Patrick Kane. Like those were the first ones that actually kind of try to change things to make it slightly more realistic. I always like those ones, like the 2K games back then, like the Jordan cover ones. What a time to be alive. The last NHL game
Ride the Zamboni.
Yes, the last NHL game I think I got was it NHL 20, the one with Austin Matthews on the cover? I know he's in like
they've had Austin Matthews on the cover like a bunch.
It was the first one. It was the first one because it was right after COVID hit. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have nothing to do. So I literally went out. I went out after, I think it was the day after Woj tweeted like the NBA season's postponed. I was like, oh. And so I like went to Treehouse Brewery and just got a bunch of beer. And then I went to GameStop and bought a PlayStation 4. In NHL 20, I was like, I'm going to be all set. And then I barely played the game. I barely played the game. I sold the PlayStation. I like don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't even have it anymore. I was like, this is stupid. I played Red Dead Redemption 2 for like 4 days straight. I'm like, I got to be more proactive if this is what the pandemic is. So
yeah. That sounds like peak life, just drinking beers and playing.
If you told
video games.
21-year-old Connor that's what he did in the immediate aftermath of a pandemic, is he went to get beer and then a video game system.
He'd be like, what is your life like?
And now and then you hit it and you're like, well, I should like, learn about investing, take an online investing course. I have to be proactive during this. Did not happen.
No, that's the better route. There's a guy on TikTok actually who I think his wife or his girlfriend, whoever he lives with, works nights as a nurse. And he's like, my wife's working as a nurse tonight, so I'm going to sit here and drink a 12-pack of whatever. And and he has like, he'll have one screen on like a movie, one screen on like college football, one screen playing Xbox. And he just like throughout the night, he edits it so we don't have to watch the whole thing, but just gets progressively drunker as he plays like NCAA 25. And, he'll walk the dog, he'll go out and get like food. And it's like, man, it's like quite a life to document, especially.
Yes.
But yeah, I noticed myself with video games, like when I was younger, like high school and even parts of college and even before high school, I could sit and play for hours and hours and hours. Now I play more than like 3 games. I'm like, I'm toast. I'm done. Like I can't do it. But yeah, NHL 25. I'm curious to hear what people think about it once it comes out, because I don't know if I'll be playing it, but if people really like it, maybe I'll jump back on the bandwagon. In terms of the top 6, we've talked a lot about Lysell. I mentioned Patra earlier. I like the idea of a young guy in that spot. I still want to see what they have in Lysell, but again, if he continues to be inconsistent in the preseason, like it's hard to endorse that. Where are you at with that top 6 spot?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still kind of tough to gauge where exactly the Bruins are leaning right now at this stage of camp. Morgan Geekie is a guy that skated with Coyle and Marchand today. Marchand, who again kind of reiterated to like the younger players that like pretty good's not going to be good enough. spoke highly of a guy like Geekie. So you wonder where he is on the pecking order there of a guy that, this is a player who averaged like 10 minutes and 11 seconds of game time with the Kraken the year before. Then almost has 40.
You were all over. You were all over him.
But that's a guy that if he's in the top 6 spot, again, is he the flashiest player? No, but has a good shot, really sound two-way game. And if you're looking for what that line with Coyle and Marchand could be as more of a, two-way shutdown grouping, maybe that's a guy that they want to plug in there right out of the gate, especially if like Marchand is prioritizing that thing of accountability, solid play, playing to other line mates' strengths, especially. So he's absolutely in the mix. Geekie was, we spoke to him on Wednesday, very confident that he thinks he has more to give. Mentions that he says he reads everything in terms of people either saying that maybe last year he wasn't good enough to be beyond a fringe player or can't play up in the lineup. I mean, I think people also forget that the end of last year in the playoffs, he was like their first line center. Like,
yeah.
So, and he was really strong in some of those games, especially against the Florida Panthers. So he is a guy that, I think regardless of where he ends up, whether it is the top 6 or more of a set role in the third line, I think he is a guy that with the added minutes, with the experience, another year in this system, I think he has more room to grow and has more to give kind of wherever he is on the depth chart on October 8th.
I mean, he's just so reliable. That's the thing. Like, you said it, he's not flashy. We'll see where kind of the point ceiling is, what he can give there, but he's reliable. And if that second line is going to be, Marchand, Coyle, Geekie, and it is going to be a shutdown line, he's probably the guy that you lean towards on that. It just comes down to, do you want that line to be strictly shutdown, or would you like to see what you have in a Lysell or putting Patra there? Because I think Patra is good. His 200-foot game is good.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's another one who I'm fine with being in that spot. I think is reliable. It just comes down to, do they want him at center long term, or do they want him on the right side? So yeah, Geekie's an interesting one. Reading everything, maybe listening to everything too. Maybe he's like watching our podcast, being like, oh, those fools, which wouldn't be far off.
Yeah, it's not far off. There's nothing. I accept that title.
I'll gladly take it. Connor, what can the people look forward to from you over at the Boston Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, we're going to have you covered every step of the way this preseason and training camp with recaps, features, columns, breakdowns, all that good stuff leading up to October 8th in Florida, which I will be in the Sunshine State. I will be at Sawgrass Mills. I will be at the Rainforest Cafe, living it up before the Bruins season opener against the Panthers. So excited to get started with that. But in the lead up to it, we'll have you covered throughout camp, throughout the preseason, over at Boston.com and the Boston Globe. So you can read my stuff there. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever the fuck it's called these days, I have no idea. You can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all that. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. You Poke the Bear listeners. Have a great rest of your week.